think we should transition over to some shit we couldn't make up. I think this week it's going to be fun facts or fun moments in Major League A-hole's history. As we can talk about, at least yesterday was April 21st, and I saw on Major League Baseball posted that it was a huge day for Major League Baseball and that there were 3 no-hitters on April 21st in the last 10, 12 years. It started out with, and they all happen to coincide with this podcast, teams that we cover every single week. The first was back in 2012 with Phil Umber throwing a perfect game in Seattle. That was in the infancy of our blog at the time. I'm sure we posted about that. As one Phil Umber came onto the scene and quickly disappeared there
Yes,
after.
exactly.
But he not only had the no-hitter, he threw a perfect game. I don't remember. I'm sure you had strong thoughts at the time. I don't know if you can recall any of those about Phil over there.
I was shocked that Phil Humber had thrown a perfect game, and I wasn't really surprised that after that, to your point, he just became an afterthought because he wasn't a good pitcher. He was an average pitcher at best, and proved that out over his career. But he had the defense behind him that day, and the right pitches against Seattle. And I don't think Seattle was necessarily very good. I don't remember it. Were they good in 2012?
Better than being perfect gamed, I guess.
It was early in the season too, so
April 21st.
Yeah,
yep,
so
sure was.
So yeah. I mean, I was shocked. It was like it was exciting, but it was weird. It wasn't like when Mark Burley got a perfect game, because Mark Burley was a good pitcher. So you're like, that fucking guy deserves a perfect game for the way he's pitched and the no-hitter that we got to see and things like that. So there's like pitchers that get it, I feel like. And the next guy we're going to talk about is one of them, but like you feel like they're really good pitchers for at least a period of time, that they earned the right and deserved like to be put in to baseball history like that. But like a Phil Umber perfect game, while it's crazy, it's crazy that's a perfect game too. Not a no-hitter.
It's a fun thing, but
yeah. But like the fact that he got a perfect game is just blows my mind to this day.
Well, I mean, he was out of baseball just 2 years lader.
Yeah,
I mean, his career ended the next season, so it was such an anomaly. But I do remember thinking at the time, like, this makes no sense. Like, I don't remember him before, and we certainly haven't heard much about him since. So, but congratulations to Phil Umber. In 2016, on April 21st, one Jake Arrieta threw his first no-hitter. Maybe his second no-hitter. I forget how because he threw one in Los Angeles around that time. Maybe he did that in 2015 before. But yes, on his way to a World Series championship, Jake Arrieta dominated I believe it was the Reds that night in April of 2016. And that didn't stop there with our blog, at least, or at the time, now our podcast or YouTube channel, whatever it is now. As Sean Manaea, then with the Oakland A's, the fucking A's, threw a no-hitter. He eventually went to the Giants, another team we obviously cover here. So
yes,
all three pitchers that the MLB highlighted for having no-hitters on April 21st were all directly involved with this podcast. So I thought that was definitely some shit we couldn't make up. But the fun facts, this date in MLA history continued when Cody Bellinger, for the second year on 420, hit a home run. Last year, he hit a home run on 420. It was remarkable in that it was a 420-foot home run, and it was his 4th home run and his 20th hit of the season. So the potheads across the country, pothead baseball fans, just had a field day with that, with all the 420 connections. So, of course, this year, Cody Bellinger does it again, hits another home run on 420. This was unfortunately not a 420-foot home run, and it was, I believe, his 17th hit of the year. It was his 4th home run of the year, but it was only his 17th. So there weren't quite as many numbers lining up to the potheads' delight. But fun facts, this day in MLA history didn't even stop there, as it was pointed out on social media today that this is the 24th anniversary of one of the most brutal brawls you will ever see in baseball. And it happened to be between my Detroit Tigers and your Chicago White Sox.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was
yeah, go ahead.
You remember this more than I do. I was not totally locked in on baseball back in the early 2000s, mainly because the Tigers had been such a shitty organization for 15 better part of 15 years at that point. I was kind of checked out on baseball for a bit, but that certainly changed in the early 2000s. But you may have been watching that game. I'm not sure what your thoughts or your recollections of that game back in 2000.
Yeah. There wasn't just one brawl in the game. There were two brawls in the
Oh, okay.
game.
Yeah.
So early in the season, I can't remember who the White Sox hitting coach was at the time, but they kind of, they were kind of like with the Cubs in 2016. A lot of the guys stood very on top of the plate, close to the plate. Obviously,
Mm,
within the rules of baseball, but they were closer to the plate. So, they were obviously susceptible to inside pitching. So people tried to pitch them inside. And I'm giving you this background because by April 21st of that year, the Sox had already been hit 9 times. Not by the
mm.
Tigers. They already been hit 9 times. And they were going up against that day. You may remember Weaver for
Jeff Weaver?
Jeff Weaver for the Tigers, who had a reputation of becoming frustrated and hitting people.
I remember him being a dick. Is that the
Yeah,
same? Is it Jeff Weaver? I thought
yeah,
he was
Jeff
later
Weaver.
than the
No,
2000s, but
it's
okay.
Jeff Weaver. So early in the game, I think it's Canerco gets drilled. It was accidental because it was definitely accidental because I think it loaded the bases and then the Sox scored 3 runs. It was definitely there's no reason he would have done that. But then after the Sox scored a couple runs, I can't remember who he drilled. He drilled another player. It wasn't Thomas, but he drilled someone else, and the Sox are like, well, fuck this. So Jeff Parquet's on the mound, and he goes out
Oh god.
there and Parquet's the funniest thing about this thing is Parquet's like 5'11". I think he's like super short. Yeah, here it is. 5'11, 170 pounds, and he drills Palmer, your utility
Dean
guy,
Palmer.
Or Dean Palmer, third baseman, drills him right in the shoulder, like right in the forearm, like upper, like no doubt. And the funniest thing is there's a description by Paul Konerko. I remember it was like during a Sox Fest or something, or maybe it was Frank Thomas, but they were like, it was like Palmer saw the ball coming at him and just began to charge the mound while the ball was still approaching him. Like there was no doubt he was
He was
going after
ready.
Parquet. And he did the old, I'm going to throw the helmet at Parquet at the pitcher to confuse him so I could get a cheap
Why
shot
not?
in. So
Yeah.
bench is clear. They settle that one
This
down.
was not a tickle fight,
This is
as
not a
we
tickle
mock
fight,
baseball fights.
but this one was bad. But it's not as bad as in the ninth. Bobby Powry's on the mound, and he drills utility dude Shane. You remember Shane Halter in the left elbow, and that was
No.
that was it. That was it. It was a fucking stitches were passed out. Keith
Yeah.
Polk, our closer, needed 5 stitches. Magler
Jesus.
Ordonez he was on the Sox.
Then with the White
Yeah,
Sox.
had a cut
Yeah.
under his left eye. Ordonez was also out for 5 games because the cameras caught him trying to fend off multiple tigers with a kick.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the cameras saw that they were when they had all the evidence. The fallout from that game was I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Oh yeah, 11 players were ejected, 16 players and coaches suspended for a combined 82
Suspended.
games.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's serious.
that is some serious shit. I mean, people were there was blood on the field that day.
If you look at the footage, I just saw a quick clip of it this afternoon. I mean, they're chasing each other all around the field. There's punches like as they're running, sprinting. There's punches being thrown from behind. couple connections like to the side of the head, crumpled a few players. It was violent. There was blood on the field, and you don't see. I mean, we see our fair share of brouhahas these days, but you and I have mocked them for years, calling them tickle fights, because usually it's just a bunch of macho posturing and getting up in each other's chests and not really doing anything. But that is anything but a tickle fight. That was one of the ugliest brawls in history. I just can't. It's just too perfect that it's between the Tigers and White Sox, at least for this podcast. So
Uh, I got to give you two
good
more.
memories.
I got two more choice quotes for you.
Oh, nice.
From Paul Konerko. If you had to score the fight, there's no doubt we lost. So Tigers may have lost the game, but they won the fight. And then
even though the Tigers lost the game that day,
they won the brawl. And then Jim Parquet said, "There's nobody that could say the White Sox were close to winning that." The next day, the training room was like The Walking Dead. The Tigers definitely whipped our ass.
It's like a Civil War battlefield.
Yeah, so there you go. There's a couple good quotes. The Tigers may have been shit that season because the Sox went on to win 95 games, but hey, man.
Nice.
You kicked our ass in the fight, so congrats.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Well, that was a fun trip down memory lane as fun facts, this day in Major League A-hole's history. I couldn't believe those three things coincided in the previous 3 days.
That is wild.
Too perfect.
Word Hole Media.